Hey guys, I'm Nadine from Curls by Nadine, and Courtney and I are here today, and we are going to give you a tutorial for how to use the Earthtones products on curly wavy hair. So you're going to start out on very, very wet hair. I'm going to wet Courtney's hair just a little bit more to make sure it's wet enough. You want to make sure that your hair is very wet. This helps with proper product distribution. So you don't want to end up with spots where you have tons of product and other spots where you have no product at all. So first we're going to use a little bit of the hair butter. So we're using about this much. We're going to rub our hands together like so. And we're going to take the hair and we're just going to run it through our hands. So notice I'm not putting any at the root. If you put it at the root, all you're gonna do is end up with really greasy looking hair. So once you've worked that through, you're going to section the hair. So each section, you're gonna take about this much hair. You're going to take a wide tooth comb or a wet brush. I prefer a wet brush to just smooth the hair before you put the product in. You want your hair to be nice and smooth because if your hair looks frizzy when it's wet and styled, chances are when it's dry, it's gonna look 10 times as frizzy and not well defined. So you're gonna use about this much of the Curl Enhancing Jelly light version. You're gonna do the same thing as I did with the butter. Rub your hands together and you're going to do the same thing. So run the hair through your hands and then you're going to take your fingertips and you're going to stick them in and you're almost going to ribbon the hair through your fingers. So it'll feel nice and smooth as it goes through. You want to do this to clump the hair together so you get a more defined curl. Once you've done that, you're going to take that section and you're going to scrunch it up. So you hear that squishing noise? That's what you want to hear when you're putting your products in. If you're not hearing that, your hair is not wet enough and your product is not going to disperse properly. So like I said earlier, you're going to end up with spots where you have tons of product and other spots where you have no product at all. So see how nice and defined that curl is? That's going to turn out like that when it's dry as well. So you're going to take the next section down and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take your brush or your wide tooth comb and you're just going to very gently smooth the hair. Nice and smooth. Take some jelly. Notice how I don't start at the top and work my way down. I start mid-shaft, go down, and work my way back up. If you put too much product at the root, you won't get enough at the bottom where you touch the most. It'll start to get frizzy. You'll lose definition over the day. So see, nice and defined. So always remembering sticking your fingers in, keeping your fingers closed, ribboning the hair through your fingers. You want to make sure your fingers are closed because if you rake your fingers through while your fingers are open, you'll separate the curls too much and you will get a very, very separated curl. So you'll end up with curls that should be one curl that end up looking like 2 or 3, and that's how you get those spaghetti stringy looking curls, and that's what we want to avoid. So see how nice and defined those curls are going to be? nice and chunky. That's what we want. If you rake your fingers through with them open, see how stringy that's looking now? That's what we want to avoid. So we want to always make sure we're keeping our curls as clumped together as possible when it's wet. Once it's dry, that's when you can go through and break up your curls, shake it out, make it big. But while it's wet, we want them to stay as clumped together as possible. And always working in a downward motion, raking your fingers down. This helps to smooth the cuticle layer down so you don't have as much frizz. There's really nothing you can do to completely escape frizz. That's just part of having curly hair. But we can definitely help to alleviate it a little bit by working in a downward motion. When you get up to the top, you have smaller sections, you take a lot less product. And again, still avoiding the root area, always working mid-shaft down and then going back up to the top. Just run your fingers through until it feels nice and smooth going through your fingers. Doesn't feel like any catches or pulls. Really make sure that product is in there. So once all your product is in, you're going to take your hair, you're gonna scrunch it up, then you're gonna take a microfiber towel and you're going to very gently scrunch the hair. So you never want to wrap the towel around your head. You never want to shake the towel through your hair, always just very gently scrunching. So scrunch all the way from the bottom to the top. Always just very, very gentle. Just a nice little squish. So you can see how nicely defined these curls are. And this is exactly how they're going to dry. Okay, so once we have used our microfiber towel, we're going to come back and we are going to use the clips. So the clipping method is great for if you want lift and volume at your roots. There's nothing worse than having a flat top and big volume down here. So what you're gonna do with the clips is you're going to take them, you're gonna open them up about this much. You're going to lift the hair, slide it all the way in, and then close. So you'll see it feels nice and secure. It's sitting upright on the scalp and not laying flat. If it's laying flat and wiggly, it's not gonna give you any lift. So you wanna make sure this is the perfect amount to open. You open it too much, you end up with separation lines. Straight lines don't belong on curly hair, so we wanna open them just very little, lift, slide it in, and then close. So see how the hair is lifted? This is how it's gonna dry. You'll get nice volume from top to bottom, no flat top. So see, this one is a little wiggly and it's now fallen. This is what we want to avoid. So we just take it and we just put it in a little bit differently to get that lift that we want. Another tip to remember is once your product is in your hair and you have microfiber toweled it, you do not want to touch your hair. The less you touch it, the better. Your hands are very, very porous and they will absorb the product that you put in your hair, which will leave you with dry looking, frizzy, not so great hair. And you worked really, really hard to put that product in properly, so you don't want to be touching it and making it frizzy. So we are now going to diffuse Courtney's hair. We are going to diffuse on low with a low heat setting. If you turn it on high, all you're gonna do is burn your ends. You're gonna blast open your cuticle and you're gonna cause a whole lot of frizz. And we worked really hard to reduce the frizz by working in a downward motion. So we want always low heat and a low fan. If your dryer only has 2 settings, always go with the lowest. Okay, so we are going to diffuse Courtney's hair. We're putting it on low speed and medium heat. No higher than this, like something warm enough that you would put on a baby. So you're gonna take your diffuser, you're gonna start from the bottom, bring it up to the top, you're gonna hold it for just a few seconds. 5 to 10 is perfect. Then you're gonna move on to the next section, and you're gonna do the same thing. Never take the diffuser and rub it into your scalp. Don't shake it in, just always from the bottom to the top, hold, and move on to the next section. Once your ends start to get a little bit more dry, you'll find that if you over diffuse the ends, they will start to take the shape of the diffuser. Meaning they will start to take the shape of here. So it'll have a weird scoop curl pattern, and then the rest will be that nice defined curl. That's how you know you've diffused too far, too much. So once your ends start to feel more dry, you're going to take the diffuser and you're going to start diffusing in the middle. That keeps your hair from drying too much on the bottom, prevents you from burning your hair, and it gives you a more even curl. So when you're diffusing, you're not going to diffuse until it's 100% dry. You're going to diffuse until it's about 60 to 80%, and then you're going to air dry the rest of the way. When you diffuse till it's 100% dry, you tend to get more frizzy. You lose curl definition because you're touching it too much, and you get those weird scooped ends.
Go.
Okay, so we have fully diffused Courtney, dried her under the hood dryer, which is the equivalent of air drying. It just does it a lot faster. We're now going to take out her clips, and we're going to scrunch her hair. So when your hair dries, it's going to dry with a little bit of crunch. We call this the cast. So we are going to use a little bit of the Earthtones hair and scalp oil to scrunch out the crunch. And even your curl specialist sometimes struggles with taking the clips out. Okay, so I'm just gonna whip Courtney around. And if you can put your feet flat on the floor, flip your head forward. So we're just going to take about a dime-sized amount of the Earthtones oil. We'll rub our hands together. And we are going to scrunch. So, same like you were doing with the diffuser, from the bottom all the way up to the top. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. Then you're going to take your fingertips and you're going to shake, shake, shake at the root. So before we wanted our curls to stay as stuck together as possible. Once it's dry, it looks a little bit too much like Shirley Temple, so we just want to break those curls up, get a little body and volume. So there is such a thing as scrunching out too much. If you have separated your curls too much and you flip your head back and you look a little frizzy, you can always take a spray bottle with a little bit of conditioner and just spritz your hair with that. It'll help to clump your curls back together. Not as well as if you were doing a full wet down, but it definitely helps with that process. So always just massaging the scalp, giving it a shake, and scrunching. So we're gonna flip Courtney back. And she's shy, so we won't make her look at the camera. Nice, defined, healthy curls and waves.